morning, everybody. Hello. So good to see all of you. We'll let you get settled in. We're letting a few people join us yet, so we'll let everybody get settled in and get ready for our Python week this week. As you're getting settled in, if you'd like to go ahead and toss an introduction into chat, you can tell us where you're joining from, maybe what you teach, anything else you would like to add. If you'd like to tell us what's your level of experience with Python, we'd love to know that too. And if you are here and you're feeling like, wow, I have no experience with Python, that's okay. That is just fine. This is the Getting Started Teaching Intro to Python workshop with our fabulous technology integrationist, CS teacher, and CodeHS teacher trainer, Scott Headrick. All right, we still have a few people joining us, so go ahead and get settled in. Again, if you'd like to go ahead and start throwing some introductions into chat, please feel free to do that. We'd love to know where our teachers are joining us from. Carla, hello. Welcome back. I like that. I love Python, but I know enough to be dangerous. Me too. Hello, Jeffrey. It's good to see you. Carla is coming to us from Indiana. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Lori, and I'm a PD specialist here at CodeHS. I have the wonderful privilege of being able to do all of these summer workshops with all of our teacher trainers, the CodeHS team, and with all of you every summer. This is, I think, one of my favorite parts of my job, is reconnecting with all of our fabulous educators. So I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. Prior to being at CodeHS, I was in the classroom as a computer science teacher for a very long time. I was a technology director 20 years and a computer science teacher for 10 of those years. And most of those years I used CodeHS, and I get very, very excited anytime I get to talk and learn more about using CodeHS in your classrooms. All right. Alice is joining us from Las Vegas. Yeah, and you prefer Python over Java. You know what? Python's one of my favorite languages too. I have gone through my period of adjustment with Java, and now I actually do love it. But Python is still one of my favorites. Wonderful. And your first year teaching computer science in high school. Awesome. Hello, Anne. Hello, Prima. Hello, Lindsay. Awesome. Hey, Phil, glad you could join us today. Been teaching Java to high school students, planning on switching to Python. I love it. That's awesome. Hi, Brandon. And welcome, everybody. Yeah, Carla also. Yeah, Carla, we've chatted a little bit about Python and Java over the last week or so. It takes a while. If you haven't programmed in Java before, I know it took me a while before I felt like, oh, okay, I like Java. And now I can say that. So I actually really love it. All right. Okay, so I think our numbers have settled in. So I think I'm going to get us started. Please feel free to, and just as I say that, there we go. We'll have a few more joining us, which I'm loving that. See how many people we can get to join. Love it. All right. So as we are settling in here, I'll go ahead and start getting us going. If you're just joining us, you have not missed anything. We've just been chatting. Go ahead and feel free to throw your introductions into chat. We'd love to know where you're joining this from and what you're going to be teaching this year, or anything you'd like to share. But feel free to use that chat if you want to start up some discussions during this workshop today. This is your time to network as well. Also, if you've got any questions that you really want to make sure we do not miss, please go ahead and throw those into the Q&A section. If you look down at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, you should see a section called Q&A, and that is going to give you the opportunity to add any of your questions there. That also helps our team make sure that we don't miss your questions. So please use that Q&A for questions that we really want to get answered. But feel free to use that chat for discussion purposes too. Wonderful. Hi, Isabel. Nice to see you from New Mexico. Wonderful. And you're adding a Python class this year. One of my favorite languages. I'm thrilled to see that. And welcome, Sally. Oh, yes, that's right. The home of the America's oldest brewery. I think I need to go hang out with you at some point this year. Welcome. So glad you could be with us today. All right. And I want to introduce a few people who we have with us today. I could not do all of this help by myself, of course. We have several members of the CodeHS team with us. We have Anna from the support team with us. I'm sure many of you have met Anna previously in another workshop, or maybe you've chatted with Anna. If you have written into support at any time, she is fabulous with answering questions and so much faster than I ever am. So we're so very happy to have Anna with us today. And we have Robin from the PD team with us. She is also going to be back there answering questions for all of us and keeping us on track. Robin knows that Lori likes to chat with people, so Robin's going to be like, come on, Lori. And of course, our star of the show is our CodeHS teacher trainer, Scott Headrick. So we are thrilled to have Scott with us today. All right, so let's go ahead and kick off this workshop. So we have our link to our slide deck. That is that the correct link? You know what? Let's ignore that link real quick because I'm pretty sure I typed that in incorrectly. This is the Getting Started workshop. I will fix that in a moment. And I'm just going to jump us straight over to the Python links page. Let's maybe go ahead and share that one. Perfect. I'll go ahead and refresh that in a little bit. I think Anna has already fixed that for me. Thank you very, very much, Anna. But I'm going to go ahead and send you to the Python links slide instead. So if you want to see all of the links for today, go ahead and browse out to codehs.com/getting-started Python-links. Or you can scan that lovely little QR code if you are in a place where it's just easier to see that on your phone. And if you're in a place where none of this is easy, maybe you're traveling, you're trying to do some other things also, or you've just got that one screen, no worries, because I'm going to send you out the recording and all of the resources afterwards. All right, we've already been throwing all of our introductions into chat, and so nice to meet all of you. Hello, 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 Keith. Hey, Paula, it's good to see you here as well. Paula is another one of our fabulous teacher trainers who is in our audience today. So we're going to be going through a lot of things today. Scott has a lot of things packed in for what he wants to share with you today. And some of the most exciting things is that you are going to get to see some sample student lessons and start to familiarize yourself with how the Python lessons look in CodeHS. And you'll get to hear about some of the strategies that Scott uses with his own students. And then we'll see how much time we have left, but we might be able to start getting into some things like course customization and talk a little bit about how we can collaborate in CodeHS as well. If you are joining us for the very first time today and you do not have a CodeHS account, no worries. We would love for you to take a moment to go ahead and sign up for a free educator account, codehs.com/signup. And this will take just a couple of minutes to create if you don't have one. If you've already got one, you can skip this step and just sign in. But please take a moment to sign up for an account. You will want to have an account because we will have a workshop section that we will have you join today. And if you are just creating an account for the first time, no worries. If you start exploring some of the things that you think you should see as a teacher, like if you're looking for those solutions, you won't be able to see those until you're verified as a teacher, just to make sure we don't give students those free accounts or those educator accounts. So if you are signing up for the first time and you'd like to get verified a little bit more quickly, go ahead and drop a message to Anna. She can help you very quickly get verified. Thank you, Anna. And once you have your account, so if you're signing up for an account, go ahead and complete that process. And if you have an account, go ahead and sign in. And then please join our workshop section by clicking on the link that you'll find in chat, codehs.com/go/2C1B7. And that is going to allow you to enroll in our workshop section and participate in the activities that Scott has planned for us today. By clicking that link, you're going to see something like this. I'm going to click on Join Section. And this is what you should be seeing. And notice this is with my teacher account as well. So whenever you have a teacher account, you can either see the teacher view or the student view, and you'll be enrolling in this as a student. So you'll be able to participate as a student. We'll give you a moment to take a look at that. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, look at that. You're all pros. Love it. You're doing awesome. All right, we'll let you go ahead and keep enrolling. By the way, if you're not enrolled in the section, you won't be able to participate in some of the activities in the lessons. So this will be something that you'll want to enroll in. And go ahead and drop a message to us either in chat or in the Q&A if you do have any questions or problems enrolling or creating an account. One more link. Once you have your CodeHS account or you're signed in with your CodeHS account, go ahead and click on codehs.com/getting-started-python-attend to let us know that you have attended this workshop. And it just dropped that link into chat. When you click this link, you'll see something like this. If you see this, it's perfect. That's all you needed to do. What that link also allows me to do is after the workshop, I can send all of you a certificate of attendance for this workshop as well. All right. And at this point, I am going to go ahead and stop talking and turn this over to my good friend Scott to take over. Scott, are you ready? Oh, I think you're muted, Scott.
I do believe that I am ready to go. So before I start sharing my screen, just want to introduce who I am, a little bit about what I'm about, and Scott Headrick, and have done a lot of things in my career. Some of you in here, as you listen to my presentation, generally like to get an idea of what the presenter is about and kind of where I've come from. I went to a school in South Dakota, college that was known for technology. Yep. Lori's like, yep, hey, we're both Dakota State University graduates. If you're familiar with Dakota State University, they are known for technology and have become a national leader in technology over the years. Like a lot of people, maybe some of you, I graduated with a business education degree in 2005. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but that's just the way it is. And mainly, I didn't really feel that prepared to teach technology in depth. All right. And as a matter of fact, I ended up getting a master's degree from Dakota State in 2009. So, you know, a lot of you in here could be veteran teachers. Some of you may be new to the profession, but new to computer science. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is this. Teaching programming was something that was very hard for me to do at the beginning. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right away is CodeHS is one of those platforms, if you've never used it before, that really helps make teaching coding easy. I was at a Gen Cyber teachers camp, of course, at Dakota State, and was in the middle of a Python session. And sometimes you get into those types of workshops and you're like, oh gosh, I'm nervous. I've never taught Python before. The person up there knows what they're talking about. There's people behind me that said, oh, I know a lot about it too, or they don't know. And it's really important to understand a couple things. I spoke up and I even said, listen, when I teach programming, I act more like a facilitator, probably more than direct instruction. And I says, I use CodeHS to do that. And I explained why. And there's just a lot of different supports available in CodeHS to help you. Now, you might say, why this big spiel about talking about this big fear and all this other stuff is I think that all of you on this call in some form or fashion are very good professionals, but the thing is you're being asked to be taught something, do something new, something different. It's really easy. Like I said, in my teaching career, having to try to get something ready for a middle school students or high school students, it really, really helps. And if you like to individualize instruction, it's really, really awesome. Like I said, when I first started teaching coding, it was hard. It's hard to find something, hard to get things ready to go, installed, whatever else, to the point where maybe we shouldn't teach coding. And I don't mean that that's right or wrong. That's just how it is. In 2008, there just wasn't a lot of stuff that was out there. So, as I go through this, I want you to come through the perspective. Some of you may be familiar with Python programming. That's great. But I want you just kind of a review of the supports that are in the curriculum. For those of you that are new to it, great. We'll talk through it. And you're going to notice, guys, that I make mistakes, or that I won't always know everything there is to know about Python. And that's kind of on purpose a little bit, to a degree, because there are times, like I said, I teach this class once every 6 weeks, and sometimes there's things I miss. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen, hopefully. All right, get that going. And talk about Intro to CS and Python 3. Now, to give you a kind of a breakdown of what Scott had done is a couple during the COVID year, 2000. So this has been 2021, the spring. I was asked to teach programming abruptly, which is great because I use CodeHS and it worked really, really well. All right. All right. So, this slide is going to tell you about basically giving you the fundamentals. The students that I had in this class were awesome. They did really, really well. Some of the strategies I used is one of the strategies was I made sure that everybody realized that they didn't have to always be at the same level as other people. And I encouraged collaboration. So I'll go on to the next part. And this is kind of giving you some of the module breakdowns. Frankly, I don't have all these memorized either, but it just kind of gives you an idea of some of the things, different modules that are there. My module that I really probably the most familiar with is obviously on the left side. All right, Introduction to Programming with Turtle Graphics. If you have middle school students, they really like the turtle. They don't want to hurt the turtle because they love the turtle. So that's pretty cool. So they really, really enjoy that. And just kind of learning some of the basics about Python. All right, so I talk about just some of the different supplemental modules that are available to us. And then also talking a little bit about the course overview as things work. And what we'll do here is I know sometimes if this is the first time you're looking at this slide, you're like, Scott, what the heck? I'm like, yeah, it kind of gets to be a little bit overwhelming at times, but basically what in a few moments here, we're actually going to go through a lesson. I'm going to have you work through it. You can go through it with me, or you can go through it on your own too, if you wish. And you'll notice that the modules are broken down into lessons. And you're going to hear me rave about one thing, and that is that there is a lot of supports in this curriculum. I mentioned that earlier, whether it's video, whether it's checks for understanding, whether it's just explanations that are going to help your students. Because most of you know this. If you don't have the supports in the curriculum to help us, everybody's going to raise their hand at the same time, and you just don't have the opportunity to help one another. And that can be quite the chore, I would say. All right. And then they have some of the different assignments or activities that are involved there. One of the things that always comes up in sometimes sessions like this is grading. I can kind of share a little bit with that. But my philosophy, and whether you agree or disagree with it, is that students, I don't worry as much as have deadlines for students as I worry as much about how students get done with things and are able to work through things. And like I said, I encourage collaboration. I want them to get a sense of, is programming for me, or is it something maybe I need to find something in the computer science area to work through. So and that's kind of tough because I know some of you that are set on grades and different things might look for some different ideas. But that's just my philosophy, is to try to get them into Python, try to learn Python, and just kind of see where things lead them. All right. And you'll notice, guys, there's some different activities. Like I said, these videos are awesome. There's some quizzes and there's some different things and that are different activities that you'll work through. So I don't know, and you hear me repeat this again, but for the videos, I don't know how many of you in here have YouTube blocked at school. We certainly do occasionally at Del Rapids. And the one thing that CodeHS does that's really, really awesome is they have their own videos that are basically, I would call them CodeHS based. So if your YouTube's blocked, you can go in and you're able to watch those videos. And that does really, really help. Now, at the same time, if depending on the school district, depending on how you want to go about your lessons, you might need to have headphones or earbuds or something with you for students to have in there with them in the classroom. All right. So the sample lesson, Intro to Python with Tracy the Turtle. All right, kind of go through this. One of the things is, as you go into the sample lesson, you're going to notice I try to approach the lesson from my perspective. As you see me teach this lesson, you're going to run into as experienced teachers, you're going to say, Scott, I would like to do something different than you did, or I don't like how you presented that topic, or I do something different. That's great. Maybe have a pad of paper somewhere where you reflect and say, you know what, this is how I'd handle this, or do something different, because obviously, guys, we're all different teachers and we all have different needs in our classroom. So make sure, guys, that you critique me, but also use that critique as a reflection of what you want to do. All right. So make sure you put on your student lens, and I'll put on my student and teacher lens here as we go through things. And then here's this opener discussion that we have. In your own words, and you can put this in the chat, what is a computer? Okay. A dog is a computer. Choose yes if you agree. Choose no if you disagree. Explain why you chose your answer. I don't know, Lori, do we normally have people speak on this? I can't remember.
If it's easier to unmute, you could certainly feel free to unmute and share your thoughts about what is a computer.
And if you're shy like me at times and things like this, or you can always answer things in the chat.
Scott's super shy. Phil says that a computer is a machine that uses code to manipulate data. I always like asking this question to students. You get some really interesting answers.
Yeah. Sometimes when you ask a question like this. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. Go ahead, Carla.
Okay,
I'll share mine later.
Okay, so a dog is kind of like a computer because, and this is the mentality behind this, because you input what you want the dog to do, you teach it, and you tell it what you want to do. It doesn't really know what you want it to do. A computer does not know. It's just a box. It's nothing without the information you give it. Okay, so you kind of tell the computer what to do with your drivers and your BIOS and all of your, everything you put into it. A dog's kind of the same way. You teach it commands so it learns to do things properly. A computer will still run, it just won't run properly without all the programming and the apps and everything that it has. Right?
Maybe.
Think of it that way.
Yep.
Can you tell I train dogs?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, when you think about a dog or just anything, just the brain power of an animal, just being able to program. And I have cats in my house, and the cat, basically, if the cat wants to play, Shadow is the cat's name, it comes up right next to the couch, next to the toy. And therefore we play, catch the little, toy mouse. So I agree, Carla. There's a lot of different ways that we program and do different things. So that's good. Thank you for your answer. And yeah, it's always an interesting question. Your students
And
will
I said it, yeah. And I said it kind of is, right? I didn't say it was completely, because yes, I understand that a dog can bark, it can eat, and it can sleep, whereas a computer doesn't do that. But I'm just saying, bad information into a dog, you get a bad dog out, okay? Because I always say a dog's only as good as the owner that trained it. So that's.
I always like the analogy of thinking about a dog or a living being as, potentially being a computer. And I think that now we've even got more places that discussion can go, just with discussions about AI and things like that as well, right?
All right. Any other thoughts? All right. Well, talk about our next part here. Let's see here. All right. The next part that we're going to take a look at, that now this is on the slide presentation that's here, the intro to Tracy. And as I mentioned earlier, I love this because if YouTube is blocked in your school, guess what? CodeHS has a video for you. So that's great. Now, one of the things I'm going to have us do, and I'm going to have us transition. So I'm going to take us from the Google slide over to CodeHS. All right, and kind of come over to our welcome area. And I'm just going to try to close up different things. And you're going to see that all of you have this course, Introduction to Programming with Turtle Graphics. So I'm going to click on that. All right, and I'm going to give you a little time just to make sure that you transition to that. Okay. And I know everybody hates the awkward silence. I'm not going to sing for you because I don't want everybody to get off this call. So.
If you are seeing a message about a page not being found, you'll want to make sure that you enroll in the workshop section, and then you should be able to access all of this. Perfect. And Anna just dropped a link into chat to join the section. Thank you, Anna.
And one of the things,
hoping for singing, Scott.
Yeah. One thing about this that, and I'm not going to go through and show you this today, but one of the things that gets asked about is like, that's nice is, if I remember correctly, is that if you utilize like a Google Classroom in your school district, CodeHS works seamlessly with that. It's really nice. Here's one thing that happened, and Lori kind of made me think about this, about like, well, you get the error message. One of the things that has to happen every now and again as you import students into this class is you have to import them. Because generally speaking, what happens when I create the class and get everybody in the Google Classroom, the day that I do that, get people in the Google Classroom, seems like there's either a track meet or a band concert or a basketball game, so you're missing a third of the class. So usually what happens is the next day you're trying to get everybody going and getting things started. And sure enough, a third of the kids can't get in. So you just need to go through and resync them back in. Really easy to do. First of all, sync them into Google Classroom, then come back into your workshop and then, or your CodeHS, and get them going there as well. So it's really good. So we have this course, Introduction to Program with Turtle Graphics. And all right, we have this first part here. It says Intro to Python with Tracy the Turtle. And you're going to see that we have 4 different parts here. We have a video. So as students, what I'm going to have you do as students is I'm going to have you go ahead and click on this. And my decision and your decision might be better because you might, or let me say not better, different than mine. I'm going to have you watch this individually. So I'm going to turn off the share for a little bit. And I'm going to have you give you 5 minutes. And I know we're all in different time zones specifically, but I'm going to give you 36 or until 36 after the 37 after the hour to watch this video. So I'm going to stop the share. And you are going to see what you learned from this, and then we're going to continue on with the lesson. All right. Well, we are 37 after the hour. And I know this probably isn't scripted, and that's okay. I know Lori's getting kind of scared over there, wondering what I'm going to ask. But before I start sharing my screen again, and I might get some volunteers, I may not, but kind of some input I wanted to have just from you guys as professionals is, how would you go about showing this to students? Would you do it individually, like we just did? Or would you have it, is it something that you would show on your board up in front or projector, whatever you have in your classroom, maybe you don't have one, and then have a discussion? And I'm just kind of curious, pros and cons, because I get asked that question a lot. Do we do it individually or do we do it as a group? I'm kind of seeing some different things. Just one question. Would a couple of you be brave enough to unmute your mics and share too? I know that's kind of a tough question to ask.
Hi, my name is Keith Gilliam, and I would actually share. I think it's really, for me, it really is according to the class. Most of my years come from high school, and so it was sort of easy there, but I even realized it, and then I did three years in middle school. So it's according to the class, because sometimes they want to do it themselves, but I think it's always easy to just start simple first and go as a group, because then you catch those students who, when I do things like this, I catch those students who might need more help than others. So, but I prefer it as a group first.
Yeah, Keith, you're right. Those are some really, really good insights on individual versus group. Anybody else?
I agree with Keith, but I think anytime you use a brand new program, that you should always do it as a whole class, just so that everyone's on the same page and understands what's going on. And then from there, people can be self-paced, is my opinion.
Good insights. And we need your insights, folks, because like I said, you guys are professionals and some of you have taught coding, so that helps us. Anybody else have something they'd like to share?
I've always done it more individual with my high school class. There's such a wide range of levels that jump into this intro class that I don't want to hold anybody back. And some of them just fly and like to go through and just let me know when they need help with something. And others, I kind of sit with more throughout the whole thing and kind of work with it. But as far as like learning the interface and how what I'm grading and what I'm not grading and stuff, I kind of go through that with everybody ahead of time. And then I've done some of the CodeHS stuff in the beginning too, where it's got like the kind of like getting to know the console and how it works and everything. Some of those, I think it's called like day zero plans or whatever it is that's in there. So we'll do that stuff as a whole group. But once we start actually in content, I kind of let them work at their own pace.
Yeah. Thank you. Good insights. Anybody else wish to share?
This is Alice from Las Vegas. I tried this course with summer school students for the first time over the summer, and I did do it self-paced. Also because students don't always start class on the same at the same time. But I started it self-paced with the scavenger hunt code zero activity. That way, if a student didn't end up coming in late, I could let them bypass the scavenger hunt activity if necessary. But I found that activity helped them be comfortable with the program. And then the self-pacing worked pretty well.
All right. Once again, great insights. Like I said, your input as we go through this, and I know I think there's a couple others maybe we're speaking to, but your input on this is really going to help the group. So thank you for sharing your insights. Anyone else? And I know we had a couple of people wanting to share.
When I show it to the whole group, I don't get their attention. Especially maybe for the first lesson or two, I could show it to the whole group, but after that, they they know what to do and they want to work at their own pace. So they're not paying attention.
You know, once again, really good insights on that. Like I said, as professionals, as teachers, whether new, veteran, computer science teachers, this input's going to help everybody else out, because these are questions I get that other people are going to get as they begin to teach this class. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. So bear with me. Sometimes when you share a screen, oh, there's my background. Kind of a snowy background. Thankfully, it's summer, so we don't have as much snow. So I'm going to go ahead and click on continue here. And we have a quiz, and I'm going to ask you as well to do the quiz. Now, I'm just kind of bear with me here, guys, because I'm going to do this as a student. Sometimes I make mistakes or miss questions like our students, but this is good just to kind of check on students' understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that opportunity to go through and see how things work. And the nice thing I like about this is if there's, you know, if you mess up, it's going to tell you. All right, got those. And if I mess up on one here, and oh, it tells me that what I did wrong and how I work through it. So you can go ahead and submit it. All right. Let's see here. Sometimes. So, you know, as you go through that, like it's really nice because sometimes our students, depending on how you approach the video, sometimes our students watch the video, sometimes they don't, but just kind of checking for understanding and how things work. So, you know, as you go through this, and like I said, my screen's a little bit wacky with this being a Zoom meeting, but you know, this part here is going to get into the coding aspect of everything, give you a lot of different things, kind of give you some tips and tricks as you go through that. And we'll come down here and talk about, well, we're going to explore this example. All right. Now, as we watched the video earlier, it was an example of how the presenter did this. And if I go ahead and here and click run, you're going to notice how everything kind of works and moves and does different things, and that's good. So, but that's kind of, like I said, kind of exploring things, going through the parts that work for us. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see here. So we're in the Slinky here. Got that. Oh. And there's other things it'll talk about, like I said, to show the description. Let's see here if I'm getting kind of working here down on my navigation here. Come back here. Sometimes I have to come back here just to get through things. All right. So as you look through this, and I'm just going to come back here to our slides that we were here. That here, if it'll work. So, and once again, this is just kind of written up. Once again, our review. We went through it, kind of did some of those things, kind of got some sense of. And like I said, as we go through this, be thinking of how you're going to teach it, how your students are going to react to it. You know, I kind of take it at a very basic version because I've taught a lot of times in more middle school than high school, but just kind of some of the questions that your students will have in this and some of the struggles that they will find. So, and this is basically everything that was covered in the video. And you might say, well, you know, can I review this the next day? I think it wouldn't hurt. It definitely wouldn't hurt at all. So it talks about just some of these other things, the code editor and how you input information into that, and the exercises that are out there to that part. And I think when we were talking earlier with Lori, I don't think we're going to do any breakout rooms today. But those are some things that work with us. So I'm just going to take a look here and kind of take us out of here for just a few moments. You know, earlier and I think we had some good things that worked with this. Let's see here. It's going to take us out of share mode for a little bit. You know, as you go through this first lesson, you know, we kind of went through that kind of a hodgepodge of thing, just kind of showing. This is kind of one of those things where you're showing kids and kind of giving your students examples. Any other tips or tricks? Some of you have taught programming using this part. Any other tips or tricks that you would use for this? Any suggestions?
We've had some interesting discussions pop up in chat as well about having students demo programs and share that for the class, and thinking about strategies for how to do that effectively. We've also been hearing from a few teachers talking about using assessment as part of different formative assessments as part of the lesson delivery process. I think it was Jeffrey also who mentioned embedding ed puzzles, which is a really cool tip as well. And if that's something you're interested in seeing, as we get closer to the latter half of this workshop, I could also show you how to do some of those custom kind of things as well.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of different things that, you know, I just kind of noticed, and I know I can't go through all the chat items here, but, you know, as far as screen share, in my school district, as far as if we're talking specifically sharing the teacher screen with us to the students, we can do that. We use a product called Land School to do that. So that definitely is a possibility if you're looking for something, you know, one different or one choice with through things. The problem with that is for those of you that have Chromebooks in your school district, sometimes when you have the student screen and your screen on it, it kind of gets to be pretty small because Chromebook screens aren't that huge. So, but
Thing that I think it's important to keep in mind too is that as the teacher, you can always choose to go into any of your students from your view. So if you've got a student program that you'd really like to share or have a student walk through their code, you can always pull up their code editor directly on your screen too. And I'd keep in mind that as you're doing that, you know, make sure that you're not displaying any scores or anything or progress for students, but you can still pull up their maybe an example or a sandbox or something like that. So there's some really cool ways to do that. We could even talk about some collaboration strategies if that's something you would all be interested in seeing later.
Yeah, that works well too, because a lot of times, you know, in my classroom, high school classroom, it's really nice because sometimes if my classroom, the students come up to your desk and then you can go in and actually see what they're doing without having to go into their computer. And if you're in a computer lab, a tight computer lab like we have in Del Rapids, sometimes just trying to get to a student computer can be challenging in itself. So it helps with some of the room issues that go on. One of the next things that I'm going to take us through here, if I can get back to the part where I was at here before, is I'm just going to bring you in. And I like to demo different things. Some of you might, like I said, some of you might be at the view where you're like, oh, I just want to kind of go through it and through things on my own. I'll talk a little bit through things and try to give you some help and kind of maybe some tips and tricks as far as what your students are going to come through or ask about. But as I share my screen again, let's do this here. All right, let's go to Tracy's grid world. So basically what we've done is we've went through that first part, overviewed it, take a look. And so what we have happening now is we have another video. And I'm going to make the decision to give you an opportunity to watch that video that your students are going to take a look at independently. And I know that as we've been waiting or sitting here having fun for an hour, that it might be a little time, time for you to get a stretch break. So what I'm going to have you do is that the video is about 4-ish minutes. I'm going to give you 4 minutes to watch that, and then we'll reconvene at the top of the hour. So go ahead and do that. I'll stop sharing my screen, watch the video, and we'll reconvene in 8 minutes. All right, it is top of the hour, so let's go ahead and come back. Hopefully got some time to watch the video, maybe a little time just to kind of stand up and take a small break if you needed it. So that is good. One of the things is going to come up next here, and I know that we have some of you in here that use CodeHS in a variety of formats. And so we've watched the video, and one of the next things that comes up is the quiz. And it's really good because that quiz is going to check for understanding. And I know sometimes we have questions about, maybe from some people that are new, or from some people that have used CodeHS before, is like, well, what do I do with the results of those quizzes? Do I put it in the grade book? Do I, what do I do with that stuff? You kind of heard how I view it as, like, I just kind of take it as a check for understanding, don't give a lot of weight to it unless somebody really struggles with it. But I just like to hear if somebody would be, once again, a couple of you would be brave enough to share with us just how you view this and how you use it in your classroom. Don't be shy.
This is Phil Stilo. A lot of times, regardless of whatever type of online question, whether I'm using an Edpuzzle in another class or CodeHS or something like that, anytime they have the little in-lesson quizzes like that, I don't take those specifically for a grade. However, I do use similar questions when I do give a quiz or, test or something on my own. I kind of steal them, but I don't tell the kids that. So a lot of times the kids will figure out, wait a minute, I should do that stuff because that is exactly what's going to be at the end of the week or whenever I give my quiz at, and they'll know. Of course, I never ever tell them until some kid might say something in class saying, some kid's complaining about his low quiz score, and they're like, well, that those questions we've already had, and then they'll be like, really? And it's like, yeah, you should have done them or focused on them a little bit more instead of just checking to get through your progress.
Good feedback. Other people, like I said, don't be shy, guys, because as we go through this, it's, like I said, kind of gives everybody a little different perspective other than just Scott's. So anything else to add?
Because I use this in like the introductory class that students have to take regardless of whether or not they're interested in computer science, and I want them to feel positively motivated to do the work and not just feel that since they don't like code or aren't interested in code, they're going to fail. I actually use these, not necessarily like like the ones at the end of each unit. I use that one in addition to the main projects as my summative scoring, and all the other little tiny things are formative, because our school is switching to only 10% being formative and the 90% weight on the summative. So I want the summative to not just be whether or not they're a great coder or struggled with the code, but whether or not they understand the concepts, since it's an intro class.
Good insights. One thing that was mentioned is and this also has come up too. I know we could have everybody pipe in on this or pipe in the chat, but some of you in here, your students have to take this class, whatever that class might be. Sometimes it might be an elective. And I'll share it this way. In Del Rapids, it's an elective. And believe it or not, yeah, that does change how I evaluate things and take a look at it. For those of you that it's a requirement. Hey, that's great. That's awesome. You're going to catch those kids that maybe didn't necessarily were interested in computer programming, but now because they were made to do it, they took an interest. So that can always also make a difference too on how you approach things in this. Yeah, but thank you for any other things, any other insights that you have on these checks for understanding. All right.
Scott, I'll mention the checks for understanding tend to be a really there tend to be a lot of ways that teachers use those. So it's really interesting to hear those discussions and hear how people what kind of strategies you approach those with in your classrooms.
All right. So as we as we go through the next part here, just kind of going through the lessons, and you're going through every different thing and seeing the dash line approach. We learn about this. The most frustrating thing for kids, for our students, is why is the turtle drawing when it's not supposed to, and vice versa. And that always seems to be a fun challenge that we go through, especially when you deal with middle school students or high school students for that matter. So, but as you look through this, the next part of the lesson is basically just kind of giving students an understanding of what this code is going to do, and gives everybody kind of an idea of what that'll look like. This is good. What I've used this for, and you might say, why do I use the example programs? It gives our students an opportunity to kind of go back and take a look at things. If you know me as a coder or as a programmer, I have to look at previous versions all the time. Your students will have to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just is what it is. So, as we go through this part, the next part, and kind of run it and go to the next part here, if it'll let us. Okay, once again, you kind of see if you run this code, all the different things that it does. And like I said, I got there, yep, and works through some things. And like I said, this is really, really, really good from the standpoint of just giving your students that opportunity to kind of see what's out there in this. And that's really, really nice. So that's how it works. But you can go ahead and submit and continue. And go ahead and submit. All right, got that code working, and wait for the next part to go through here. So at this point, like I said, you're going to notice that your students have been given examples. Let me see if I can talk there quite a word. But what these examples are going to help them do is write the code that is there. And a lot of times they'll get through this and they're like, Mr. Headrick, whoa, there's no code here. What do I do? I'm in trouble. And you're kind of like, well, what's next? And then I'm frantically coming over and trying to get things figured out. But one of the things that you look over here, and if you can if you're viewing my screen, you can go over to the assignment, and in the assignment, you can use the commands that you've learned so far to draw a caterpillar on your canvas. Oh, like I said, it's not always as easy, but when we have to actually do it on our own. So, they talk, kind of work through things. I can go up to the show the exercise. So we have a circle. All right. And then the kids are like, oh no, what do we do? I forgot, test cases. Well, then they're going through all these things, and then the documents. Oh God, what do I do? One of the things, okay, so you can kind of sense that there's a little bit of a panic mode that comes on to students because they don't know, they're trying to click all over. Then pretty soon they're on YouTube watching something, who knows? But I want you to understand something. The one thing to point your students to, so they have the assignment here. Okay. Then if they go into the docs, they're going to get some information here that's going to help them, hopefully. All right, you can kind of go through here and just kind of see what they need to do. And if you're like most students, middle school students, this is how far down they go before they raise their hand. Okay, and then they'll raise their hand and, okay, I need help, I need help, I need help. But you go down and they're like, okay, let's take a look here. How do we do a circle here? All right. Well, we got a circle command here, hopefully. All right, got circles, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And then kids are like, oh no. So do our circle. And they'll say, all right, we'll do 360s and let's run it and do the output, see if it works. Uh-oh. And it goes way off the screen and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? 90 degrees, what is it going to be? All right. And you can do all sorts of different things. But the big thing is I would say is this, and I'll let you kind of work a little bit on this on your own as well. But the main thing is always try to point them before helping them right away. Always try to point them into the docs so that they have information that they need to work through. All right. Because a lot of times kids are like, oh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few moments to kind of work through that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a bit. Let you work through this. You may have already, gives you a lot of extra time. And we'll see kind of how we can get this to work for us. All right. So I'm going to stop my share. All right. We'll give you a couple minutes to work on that. And we'll kind of come back together here in a little bit, a couple minutes from here. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes here now. Scott has been working on his code, as I'm sure maybe you have, or some of you have or haven't. I'm going to show you my code. And of course, like everything, I have a mistake in here that I made. And I want you to be able to tell me what I did wrong. All right, so we go through this, and I know we got several people here. So what happened here is like I said, I go through this and I run it. And so I run it and everything goes well. I got my 5 circles and I'm like, yep, I got my 5 circles. I moved forward and I've done everything I did some testing and I'm like every child and I'm like, all right, go to grade and cement. Uh-oh, something happened here. You should lift the pen up between circles. Well, your student will be like, nope, Mr. Headrick, no, it's good. What? Okay. What happened here? Okay, what do I need to do here? So I'm going to have you help me out here a little bit because you're going to be helping your students here out too. What did I do wrong here? I mean, we've talked about the circle and the forward commands, and what did I do wrong?
Yeah, pen down.
Okay, so Ann has talked to me. So what do I need? Talk me through this because I'm a flustered. Talk me through this. I don't get it. I'm about ready to go home. I'm going to go to the principal's office, call my parents. I'm mad. Or actually pull out my cell phone probably at this time or text or whatever else it is. So what do I need to do? Okay, take me through this. Help me out here.
After circle 20, you need pin up.
So after circle 20, I need pen up. All right, do I need there? I think I got that. All right, so I do that. And uh-oh.
Well, after forward 40, you need pin down.
All right, let's see here, pen down.
And you're going to have to repeat that after every circle and every forward, unless you're going to do this as a loop.
Okay, well, I got that. Let's try it here. I'm going to get rid of all these things here. What you're telling me. Grab this, and I'm going to do this 5 times. All right. All right, I think how many times? We got 4 circles. Oh, need to do it once more. All right, run it. All right, now let's see if it'll let me go. Yay, we got through it. We got through all of that. Okay. Your students are going to go through that. And thank you, Ann, for your help with that, because these are the things that and I think it's perfect because I go through this. I'm like, okay, well, I got that part of it. And sometimes it works. And I even get a badge too. All right. I don't know. Maybe print that out and give that to, believe it or not, I don't know how many of your students like stickers, but our students do at Del Rapids. And it doesn't matter how old they are, how they do love stickers. So they got those things. All right. All right. So we go to the next part here and, all right. So kind of going through this part of things here. And sometimes I just unshare my screen just to kind of get myself back to where we were before. All right. Everything kind of works. But, so as you go through this, and I'll just do a kind of a quick review here with you. This thing here. Get this to close on me. So, as you go through here, there's just, like I said, there's a lot of things that you always want to make sure that you go through. And, like I said, we got people on our webinar that are very experienced. It's great. You know Python like the back of your hand. And then there's other people that are new to this. So these are the type of questions that you're going to get as you go through this. So kind of put yourself in the student view. I know that none of you in here, you all have great students, and I know that all of you in here would have students that would never try to skip through things. So you kind of see what happens if they do try to skip through things. And you also kind of see some of the frustrations that they go through as they work through everything. So you have the video, the check for the understanding, the examples, and then the exercise. Coming into the lesson plan part of things, and I'm, like I said, I'll kind of go through my colleagues as well with this. A lot of times, as we go through the lesson plan process, it's tough. I mean, making sure that the students are aware of the coordinates on a plane. Some of them will have experience with that, some may not as much, especially if they don't care for math as much. But, making sure that they have that prior knowledge is really, really key. So, and the main thing I would say that, as you saw me struggle with when I was doing the program, is the pen up and the pen down and the background commands. Those are very, very, very key to understand. The one thing that as I go through this and I lesson plan and I prepare for things is, and maybe I'll ask you this too, is in my classroom, I try to strategically place students. What I mean by that is this: if I know somebody's a stronger programmer, and it is very helpful, I'll try to put them by someone that struggles, maybe struggles more, or people that would get along with some different things. So that does help matters quite a bit. Any other strategies that you use as far as to try to help your students? If you want to speak out, you certainly can. That just is one thing that came to mind. All right. All right. And here's some questions for you. And these are some questions that you could ask your students. These are some questions that you have that you can answer yourself. But and I'll ask this to you. What are some things you have noticed about Tracy's world? What does Tracy start every time you run a program? Now, this is the question for your students, and it's also a question for you. What do you notice? Okay. As teachers, what do you notice about Tracy's world? Don't be shy to speak.
She always starts at 0, right in the middle.
Yep. Always starts at 0, right in the middle.
With her pen down.
Yep. With the pen down.
Got a 400 by 400 grid.
400 by 400 grid. You might have a student who'll say, well, what does pen down mean? What does pen down mean?
Means she's prepared to draw a line.
Yep. There you go. There you go. All right. Prepared to draw a line. Anything else? Anything else that you have? All right. And as we see, as we've been given information here and just doing some great things, it talks a little bit about just kind of the grid view and understanding how that works. As we've stated, the grid view starts at 0, straight in the middle. Dash line example. And you can have some challenges that are out there too. Kids love challenges that are good for us to work through. All right. Let's see here. Kind of getting through here, getting ahead of myself. One of the things, as you go through this, let me get back to my home screen is, we talked about this kind of the grid world before and kind of getting the dash lines in there. And I'm just going to talk a little bit too. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment here. And I'm just going to turn it. Let's see if I can. There we go. Stop share. Lori, is there any other things, as we're kind of going through this part too in the presentation any tips or tricks that you like to share? Because we went through a couple of lessons. I just wondered if there's any other things that should touch on or consider.
I think one of the things that we really want you all to take away from the CodeHS lessons is to think about what are your teaching strategies that you like to use with your students? We want to give you a lesson that's really flexible. And so we don't want you to feel like, oh, I have to use this prescribed lesson that CodeHS has given me. While you can absolutely do that, and I will say I was one of those teachers who did every time I started a new course that I didn't know or hadn't experienced or didn't have experience with the language. You can do that. But if you are somebody who uses Edpuzzle, or maybe you've got some other strategies that you want to bring to your lessons, maybe you like Padlet, maybe you want to create your own activities, you can absolutely do that too and build those directly into your lesson progression. There's so many things that you can do, whether you're a free or a pro teacher, that can really allow you to customize and make your lessons exactly what you want them to be. And I can actually, in a little bit, we might take just a brief break shortly. And then if you'd like to see some of the ways you can do that, I can certainly talk about some of those too.
Yeah. I think that from my perspective is to, as far as being creative as much, it kind of depends too on how much you teach the course. Some of you might be in states where computer science is required or there's a big initiative, that's awesome. Unfortunately, South Dakota at this point is not. We're hoping to get there. So, and depending on your enrollment in courses, it might be, every couple of years when you get to teach something again. So just be aware of that. And Lori, do we want to take a break? Or I know you'd mentioned it.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and take a little break and we can come back together in about, let's just take 5 minutes maybe and give everybody a chance to stand up, stretch, grab some more coffee and get ready for our last 30-ish minutes or so. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes. We'll come back together and get ready to head through our last 30 minutes together today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, give everybody some opportunities to kind of get a break. First of all, thank you guys. One thing I really appreciate as we go through this is just some of the different feedback and ideas that you give as we go through the presentation. And that really, really helps make this as lively as possible. I think the thing is, as you talk about lesson planning, and I know if you're on our webinar and you're like, oh, this is my first time doing this, I'm worried I'm going to mess up and I'm whatever else. Don't be worried. I know that's not going to keep you from worrying, because usually that's how life works. But just understand that as you set up this course, yes, there's always going to be hiccups that work with that, trouble spots. But I think the nice thing is there's so many different supports in this lesson, and there are people that you can reach out to for help. So just understand that too. And I know Lori probably at some point will talk a little bit more about that, but there's a lot of professional development that goes with that. And just to understand too is, I think the hard part is, for a lot of people is they really struggle with the idea of going into something that is new to them and they haven't mastered themselves, and therefore they're teaching it. And once again, I think that like I said, CodeHS is a great platform to help guide you through that first couple of years. And once you get those first couple of years under your belt, you're gonna be really, really, really used to teaching and making some of the modifications. As Lori mentioned, and Lori's right, is like sometimes when you get something, you're going to go verbatim. This is how we're going to do it exactly. And then you're going to make adjustments as you go, just like any subject that you've had to teach for the first time. So, taking a look at kind of where we're at here. All right. See here, making sure we're not doing crazy things here. But, as you look at this, really your students at this point are going to be learning these commands, the first part, the forward, the circle, the radius, and the backward. And we also talked about the pen up and the pen down. I mean, obviously how that works with getting that information out to your students. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach lessons. And I think, you as professionals are going to have some ideas. Great. You're going to notice where we talk about lesson ideas. We're going to watch them as a group, as an individual. It's your preference. There's good and there's bad to that. You can use assessment tools. We mentioned Edpuzzle in this, or TED Ed, or some other different things that might come up. You can have direct instruction. One of my thing is in teaching coding over the years, whether it's been through CodeHS or other platforms, is the one, I know we've mentioned it, we've had a lot of great input, is when you go to direct instruction, you're always going to have those people that work ahead or those people that fall behind. And so that can be a little bit unnerving. But the nice thing about direct instruction is you have a general idea of where everybody is. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of just kind of some of the built-in parts, exemplar code to see how the coding concepts works. That's one thing I really like, as I was taking you through the examples, and I kind of skipped over it a little bit, but the CodeHS does a really good job of, hey, here's the code, run it, see what it does. And I didn't demonstrate it, but you can go through and you can kind of make changes and kind of see how things work to see what changes the code will happen to, or whatever works for that. So, but you do have some of those things that are available to you. And as far as assessment goes and different things, I've shared with you how I assess, and a lot of it is, and I understand in different districts, different states, you have different expectations of how you assess student work. In South Dakota and Del Rapids, it's very, however you want to make it work for yourself is what happens. If you want to make it more completion, great. If you want to make it more rigorous, great. If you want to have something along those lines, great. And it's also your assessment, in my opinion, is going to also be different based on whether the class is required or whether it's an elective. That's just how I feel. Because when I taught it, I had 13 people that wanted to be in the class. They wanted to be there. So that made a great difference. So, and there's a lot of different things that you can put into lesson plans. I always kind of, like when I was going through this with my students, I would say, how I would start the classes, if there was a concept or a particular piece of the lesson that was giving people trouble, we would talk about it. The thing is with people being all over the place, individualized in this, or what the potential is, sometimes an exit ticket will suffice as far as, well, hey, what did you learn today? What was something that was good? And you can ask some question. Hey, what's one thing you learned? It's one thing you still have questions about. What's one thing that was tough? So you can work through that. And like I said, it's going to be your style. My style is to let them, get on the computer and go and support them as they work through things. So, best practices. We mentioned, I've talked a lot about different things, and over the last hour and 37 minutes, my feelings on the videos, the examples. Is there any other best practices you would like to share for CodeHS? And I know, and like I said, I would hope that you guys wouldn't be shy, but what are some things that you've used in your classroom that maybe is innovative, maybe it's different, that's something that just worked for you that you'd like to share with everybody?
I was going to say, I use Edpuzzle quite a bit, but I do kind of two things. I take the end of the check, and I put that at the end of the Edpuzzle. But then I also will go in and, like, if there's a spot where it just says something random like the sky is blue, I will pop questions in there intermittently, like what color is the sky? Just so that I know that if they do bad on the end, it's because they watched it and didn't understand versus they didn't watch it and tried to answer. So I try to put those freebie questions in there so that it helps to help me differentiate where those students really are at.
Good input, Jeffrey. It's good strategy. What else? What else are some good? What are some other best practices that you use?
One suggestion from chat is from Lindsay saying that she likes to create an assignment sandbox for students to complete. And that is another really great way to create your own assessments. And it's going to be much more difficult for students to even cheat with those kind of assessments. It's going to be easier to take a look at what their coding skills are. I think that's a great strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of different things. Choices are good. Anything else?
We've had a few questions, Scott, about how to make some of those tweaks. I know some of you have been with us before, but some people might be joining for the first time, and they're wondering about some of the ways that they can make some of those edits in the lesson. And we could definitely do a few customizations.
Yeah.
Unless,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that would be good. Lori, is that's, kind of talking a little bit more about the customization part of it?
Sure. And I don't want to cut you off, so.
Nope, you're good. Nope,
I know
I
a
think that
couple
would
of
be good.
people had a couple questions about that, so I thought we could take a few minutes just to take a look at some of the basic things that we can do. Because I do agree, I definitely agree with Scott. If you're just starting with CodeHS, or maybe you're new to computer science, it's going to be intimidating enough to take a look at the curriculum and try to stay up to speed with the kids. And I will say this was my issue as well as a former ELA teacher. I did not start in computer science, and so I needed to start with my students too. And so thinking about customizing anything would not have been something I would have done from day one. However, there's a few things that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and address a couple of the questions that I had gotten. So we did drop a few slides in here too about customization, but we really want to just show you a few of the things that you can do. I did also, some of you have been with us in some other workshops, so you might have a few of these, but I did add demo sections for all of you. So if you are enrolled in the workshop section, you will have gotten a demo section. So when you sign into CodeHS and you go to the sections page, you will see that you have your name demo section. And it does include the Intro to JS course, but that's okay. This is still a good place for you to come and play and try out some tools. And so this is where I actually go as well to try out some of the customization things. So from my demo section, I'm going to actually click on the assignments link up here in this toolbar across the top. There's a few ways you can get to that. You can either come here or you can click on it from the navigation pane on the left-hand side of your screen. And now it's just going to stay trapped in Zoom in forever. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and click on assignments. And this is truly the page I think about as my teacher dashboard. So this is going to be a good place for you to come to take a look at the content that's in your course, add content or add custom content as well, if you would like. This is one of the places you can do that. This is where I can also switch to student view. So if I want to show my students something or demonstrate something from the lesson, often I'll do that from student view, just because there's a few added bells and whistles here that might be a little bit confusing, but this way they can actually just see the view that they see as well. So when I am in my course, one thing you'll notice is that I have this funky little classroom resources module up here. Well, that doesn't come with the course. I actually added that. So to add any kind of your own content, you can come in to the add button in the top right corner. You can click module to create a brand new module or a brand new unit. Maybe I'm going to call this one end of class resources. I can also give it a picture or an image. That helps me very often because I'm very visual and I can kind of remember those images better than I can remember other things as well, or better than I can remember names that all have the same image. So it adds it at the bottom. And if I open that, I can now add a new lesson. Maybe I'll just call it, spell it right, resources. And once I add the lesson, inside of that, I can add a new assignment. So when I add a new assignment, I can make any of these activities inside of my course. So I can make a coding exercise. This is very much like creating that it is like creating a sandbox project or sandbox style coding project. Doesn't have an auto grader. This can just be something you create. Maybe it even just has comments in it and you tell your students what you want them to create. This is a really cool thing to give kids kind of a project-based assessment almost. I really like this option. And it's easy to set up. So if you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to write my own program, it's okay, you wouldn't have to. In fact, I'll just walk through it really quick. So when I click that, I can choose from a number of JavaScript programs. There's our Java programs. And here's all of our Python options. So the one thing I would say is when you're choosing, since this is a Python workshop, when you're choosing the Python program that you want to have your sandbox run, think about what you want your students to create. If we choose Python 3, this is going to be very much the Python language. If we want kids to use the turtle graphics, like what Scott was demonstrating, we're going to choose Python Turtle. There are some other graphics programs, Python. I think all of our graphic content uses Python. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah, I believe it does. But tkinter is another one. I know I've used that quite often as well in the past. You have Pygame, Python Carol. So if you want to get back to Carol the dog, you can definitely do that. Oh, Python Super Carol. Cool. Coming soon. Just saw that. And then we've got some data science and some other options as well. If you are interested in seeing advanced Python, definitely join us on Friday, because we're going to be talking data science and AI. Both of those are advanced Python options. So I'd highly recommend jumping into those workshops too. So I'm going to choose Python Turtle. Now here I can name this. I can call this Super Hard Project. That is the worst name ever, but I'll call it that for now. And I would give a description of it, or maybe I'd put my instructions in here. Create your very own turtle maze. And I would probably make my instructions a little better, but that's okay. I click save. And then I can make some starter code. So there's always going to be some starter code here. I could leave this, or I can add a comment. Maybe I want students to do specific or complete specific parts of this project. Maybe have Tracy move forward by 100. And I can continue doing that here. And then students will see that when they open this. I could add solution code, but I'm not going to do that. I can go ahead and skip it. I can configure it if I have Pro Tools, and then I can preview what it's going to look like. And you'll see it gets added into the lesson progression, just like anything else, looks like any other program, and students will be able to complete it here. The really cool part is there's no auto grader, and so they're not constricted by having an auto grader. They can actually try some things and really experiment here. So that is how the sandbox activity works. I can also create my own multiple choice quizzes here. This is another really awesome option. If you've got some quizzes that you'd like to add in to the CodeHS platform, you can add your own auto-graded practice problems as well. If you are really excited about Python and you want to write your own programs, you can absolutely write your own and write your own auto-graders. You can add your own videos. So if you've got videos you'd like to add in, different connections, you can do that. Article is what I would use to embed, say, Google slideshow or a doc or another website or anything like that. You can add your own lecture notes. You can also add free response questions. So if you want students to simply answer a question, maybe this is a bell ringer. Maybe you want students to keep a coding journal. This is a really good way to do that and have it embedded in the lesson itself. And you don't have to read student handwriting if you do it this way. So just a little hint there. Embed is another really cool feature. And what I really like about Embed is that this is what you would use with things like, say, Edpuzzle or Padlet. Let me see if I can grab. I don't know where my Edpuzzle went, so I will grab Padlet instead. I'm going to grab the embed code from a Padlet. Sorry, that was on a different screen. I'll show you what that looks like. I can give some directions for what they're going to do with this Padlet. Now, if I preview it, Padlet is directly in the platform or in the lesson progression. So now at this point, you do not have to direct students to another site. You can simply say, do this next. They can add, contribute to this Padlet on their own. If you are a Google Jamboard user, that does not embed. So just a little side note, makes me very sad it doesn't embed in any LMS. So hopefully someday that will be something that changes. And there's some other really cool options here as well. You can add resources, but this is a really powerful tool to add your own activities. And that is available for both free and pro teachers. Some of the simple things you can do, a lot of things that we were talking about don't require that kind of lift to actually building your own activities. So one of the things we all talked about was what do we do with these check for understanding quizzes? Now, if you'll notice in this particular lesson, Introduction to Programming with Carol, my check for understanding quiz is in a very weird place, isn't it? Usually it appears right after the video. Well, you can move these components, lesson components around anywhere you'd like them to appear in the lesson. Oops, and I just moved it up too high. That's all right. There we go. So now it's back where it belongs. It usually comes after the video or after the lesson content, but maybe I don't want it there. And I don't want kids to wait to do it. Maybe I want to use this as a bell ringer. I can move this up and have them start the day with that. I could also, because this is a really short quiz, and I want it to be formative in nature, for my purposes anyway, I'm going to shift this down and have this be an exit ticket instead. So this is another really cool option to actually just move things around so the lesson progression is correct for your students. The other cool thing you can do is to actually move this entirely to a different lesson. Maybe I'm going to have it start in the more basic Carol lesson. When I do that, it can now become, notice it's at the bottom, I can just shift it right on up to the top. Click it a few times. You can't drag and drop this yet. Be super excited someday if we get that capability. There we go. So now I actually took the quiz from day one, moved it to a warm-up activity for day two. So you can do a lot of different things like that. Very simple things that can just maybe ease your workflow a little bit. You can also shift all these different modules around. I would probably not do that as much in an actual programming course because things will be scaffolded in a way that would help students progress through the lessons. But there would be other courses, like maybe some of the survey courses, like Computing Ideas, or the AP courses where you could shift some of that around a little bit. So that is another possibility as well. If you wanted to add additional content, you can also click on this awesome little blue add button in the top right-hand corner, and you can add your own sandbox programs. I know somebody, Lindsay, I think in chat mentioned that she adds her own sandbox programs. You can do that here. You can also add content from the CodeHS course catalog. So let's say you've got some students who are really flying through that Python content. If you'd like, you could always come in here and grab something from data science, which is another Python course. And that might be for some of those high flyers who are really flying through that content quickly. You can add as much or as little as you like. I can be very choosy about what content I want to add. And we'll just add that. And I'm going to view these assignments in my course. And it always adds it to the bottom. And you can shift that up if you like. If I decide, I don't really want this in here, I can always click on the three dots and I can remove. Gone. If I want to re-add it, I can always re-add it from the course catalog, or I can click on course settings and view trash here. And I can put those back in and restore those again. Very, very cool. Any questions about some of those basic things like that? The only thing that is a pro tool in the customization area for CodeHS, for the CodeHS courses, is the forking ability. So maybe I want to come in, maybe I want to tweak or edit one of the quizzes that are available. I can absolutely do that. I can also do that with exercises or challenges. So if I have a pro license, I can click on these three dots. I'm going to do it with fetch, and I'm going to click fork. Fork makes a copy of an existing activity, a CodeHS activity. Now, here's my copy, and I can now come in and edit this. I can change the description. I can change the name. I can say this is Ms. G's copy. And I'll go ahead and save that. I can change the starter code, change the solution code, I can do a whole lot of stuff here. I could even go into advanced settings and really mess with some stuff. I could even play with the auto grader here. So just keep in mind, this lets me be way too dangerous, but you're also not really hurting anything if you're forking a copy. If you really mess it up, delete it, start again, right? That's always that's my mantra. Well, I messed that up because I'm going to start again. So that one is the pro feature, but all of those other things are available to all teachers. And the one that I left out was the CodeHS project catalog. If you are excited about the projects that you can do in CodeHS and want to use those in a formative way or a summative way, you can check out the project catalog. You can view the whole project catalog from the left-hand navigation bar, and you can add it from this page as well. Add CodeHS project. So many things. Now, the one other thing, and we've got 4 minutes, so I can do this. I'm going to go so fast. Some of you were talking about the sandbox. So I just wanted to point out where it is really quickly. At any point in CodeHS, you can click on Sandbox. I want that page to stay open, so I'll open it over here. And you can add your own sandbox projects here. You, your students, any CodeHS user have access to the sandbox. I'm going to create a quick activity, Tracy's World. I'm going to click Create Program. I'm going to make this a turtle program. I'm going to click Create. So it gives me that starter code, but this is where it's a completely open program. I can start writing some code in here. But what fun is it to just code by myself? I can also click on the collaborate link over here on the left-hand side. I can enable collaboration, and I can grab this link. I can drop it into chat, and I can invite all of my friends to come and code with me. So if you are so inclined, please go ahead and click that link. And there's Anna. You can see, and there's Scott. You can see as all of you join, and you can start typing in this program, and we can collaborate. This is an awesome way to pair program, to peer program, to maybe do some collaborative activities in class. Your students can absolutely create their own collaborations, and you can do debugging in class together. This is another way people also use examples or exercises in CodeHS is by dropping them into the sandbox, and then you can collaborate on them. So super cool option. This is a very, very powerful feature. For our AP CSP teachers out there, this can be an option also. The sandbox is where your students would do the end of year create PT as well.
So Lori can just, being the facetious person I can be at title. If I invite somebody into my code, can I see who made changes?
Well, we click on more and click on history, as we would absolutely be seeing these different timestamps. And I feel like that was something maybe we were going to be seeing is timestamps that shared who was creating each of those. Is that correct, CodeHS team? And mine, it hasn't been open for very long, but you would still get those timestamps. Oh, our engineers are working on it, Anna said. So I knew I had seen that come somewhere. So yes. Oh, and notice I just had another timestamp pop in there. Ah, there we go. I knew you'd get that comment. There we go. Now we can run this. Perfect. And as long as I don't click disable collaboration, you all can keep collaborating away. In fact, you know what? And that's the mistake I make. I think, oh, is it the slash? Is it the hashtag? And then I think, which is the other one? SQL has something different. So yeah, I never know what I'm doing when I start adding comments anymore. Perfect. Love it. So I'm going to leave this open. If y'all want to play with it. By the way, you can have a little chat bubble as well. Oops. Hey, everyone. And that is something that can be shut off too, because we don't always want our students to chat, do we? All right, so I just showed you a ton of stuff and we are right at the end of the hour. So I'm going to wrap us up for today. If you've got questions, definitely go ahead and toss those into the Q&A or chat. We can absolutely get your questions answered. But a couple of things I wanted to share with you before we wrap up for today. We do have a new CodeHS PD membership that is going to be rolling out in like days. It's coming up so fast and we are so ridiculously excited about this. The PD membership, you can see more information about that by browsing to codehs.com/PD/membership. Let's see if I still didn't fix my link. Oh, because I spelled it wrong. Silly. There we go. I'll fix my link. So I spelled membership right. But you can see more information about it here. And the PD membership gives you access to all of our mini PD courses. We have so many mini PD courses. This makes me think about the ISTE courses that are available as well. You get access to all of those, exclusive workshops that will be coming up for PD members, and so many other perks. So definitely check out the PD membership. We have a ton of other resources available. If you are not a CodeHS certified educator, we want you to join Certified Educators. It's an awesome group. I used to be a certified educator. I'm totally going to beg them to get my little certified educator flag back. If you'd like to check out some of the other workshops that are coming up, be sure to head to codehs.com/freepd. Feel free to join our CodeHS community Slack workspace as well. Yes, so much stuff. And this is Python week. So we do hope we get to see you all again at upcoming workshops. So I want to thank Scott for giving an amazing getting started with Python. Woohoo, you kicked us off in a great way, Scott. Tomorrow we do have deeper dive into teaching Python with CodeHS with teacher trainer Rob Kramlich. And on Thursday, I'm so messed up since today is Tuesday. On Thursday, we will have Python extensions, advanced applications for teaching Python 3. If you're excited about using some of your own custom activities and sandbox projects, you will not want to miss Ken Pendleton's workshop about advanced applications. He has an amazing coin flip program that he uses to teach his students Python. And at the very end of the week, not pictured here, is data science and AI. And a look at those courses. Those are Python courses and they are advanced content. So you do not want to miss that as well. And if you could take a moment to let us know how we did today, we would so appreciate your feedback. We always want to know how we can bring you the content that you are really looking for and what else we can do to just keep getting better. So you can head out to codehs.com/workshop survey. And thank you all. First of all, thank you. A huge thank you to our amazing teacher trainer, Scott Headrick. Scott, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome. You had us all just thinking about some great ideas, ways that we can use this with our students. This was a great introduction, so thank you. I also want to thank the CodeHS team for joining today. So appreciate all of your help because we could not do it without you. We are truly a collaborative team of friends who just want to make sure we're helping each other out and helping our CodeHS educator family out as well. And thank you to all of you for joining. I say this at every workshop and I truly, truly mean it. You have so many ways to spend your time. It is summer vacation. Some of you might be wrapping up school yet. And if you are, so sorry. I hope it gets to be summer for you very soon. But thank you for choosing to join us. We absolutely appreciate your time and we appreciate all that you do for your kids. Please take some time for yourself this summer. Rest, recharge, relax, and come hang out with us again. We'd love to see you again in another CodeHS workshop. See you all soon. Thanks, everyone.